Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome in. This is Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Centers Smith Jr. Oh, there's a lot to get into today. A lot of NFL free agency, as you see down here on the topic bar. You know we're going to start with Rodgers. Finally said the thing that we all been waiting for. Not really LeBron in the decision, but something akin to that going on the Pat McAfee show to, announce whatever he was going to announce. But he gave us what we were waiting for, and he was able to announce that, yes, he does indeed want to be a New York Jet. So we'll touch on that. And since it's past 4 o'clock, NFL free agency is officially open. No more tampering, no more whispers, no more rumors. People are actually being signed. Deals are now being submitted to league offices for approval. Things are being done. Deals are being made. Trades that were rumored are now official. So there's a lot to go over. We will touch upon a lot of that. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be coming in as this stream goes on. So be sure to tap in and we'll be able to lock in and keep track of everything. Because yesterday it was supposed to be an hour, but because of all the information that was coming hot and heavy, we stayed on here for almost 2 hours. So, we are prepared to do that again today if we have to, but, we'll be on the timeline searching for that timeline tea. A lot of spicy tea yesterday, definitely some ginger tea. We'll see if today is a little bit more of an English breakfast tea, a little bit of matcha. We'll see what type of tea we get today. But for those who are tapping in, if you would be so kind, definitely tap that like button on the way in. Let me get all my windows and my tabs straightened out here. I think it's going to be something, this stream is going to have a lot going on. So let's just prepare. This is going to be a lot of news to keep up with. Definitely tap in on the comment section if you want. If you're looking forward to a certain story, if you want me to break something down, feel free. Comment section is right there. I have it open. We can go back and forth and do that. But we must start with Rodgers. And the fact that he finally let us know what we've all been insinuating for what seems like at least a month. There are some people that are trying to get credit for saying Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, even though it was kind of like the worst kept secret for a very long time. But here we finally are. And out of just the noise of, Aaron Rodgers saying, yes, I intend to play for the New York Jets, it was the aftermath of what he said, post saying that, what he went on to say, and Aaron shots at the bluest of all blue check boys, and that's your man's Adam Schefter. Lose my number. Good try, though. So here's the backstory. Clearly, blue check boys like Adam Schefter and blue check girls like Diana Rossini, both from the Four Letter Network, have been trying to be first, have been trying to be the ones to give you the most up-to-date information because that's what we crave. We want to know what's going on, who's going to go where, what's he's thinking, so on and so forth. And Rodgers doesn't have the type of setup where you could just go hit up his agent, go hit up his manager, go hit up people in this camp. So you sometimes have to go directly to the source. And what you have here is that two blue check people, in terms of Adam Schefter and Diana Rossini, try to get ahead of it and try to be the ones that they can break out and confirm ahead of Rodgers announcing it himself, the news that he's indeed going to say he wants to be a New York Jet. So now that he has put this out there and he aired him out, and Schefter, who I guess this is the only thing he could do. Like, there's no way to retort that, right? Because he did track down the number. Aaron Rodgers said, I'm not even sure how he even got my number, but he somehow got the number and then texted me, try to confirm the story. And then this is what Rodgers told him in return. Lose my number. Good try, though. Allegedly, he said the same thing to Diana Rossini, but she didn't screenshot it to get the clicks and tweets off. Like you see down here, 12 million views on this one, screenshot, a quarter of a screenshot. You notice the bottom part is cut off here. I don't think that's not by coincidence. I would love to know what the rest of that thread says, because clearly there was more back and forth. Like, it's not just because if this was the only text, you could show the whole screen, right? But clearly there's more to this thread, and your man's blue check boy, Adam Schefter, is not trying to let us see the rest of that thread. So what do y'all think was in the rest of that thread? Did Schefter try to get more tea? Did he try to confirm whether or not Raj wants all these jets, all these soon-to-be future jets? Is the wish list for real? Because that's something that, has been disputed by Raj, Aaron Rodgers. He's saying there is no wish list. I am not making demands. And we talked about this on the stream yesterday. And there's, clips from that segment on my channel here. And it would seem to be very weird to me that he would be asking for the Jets to do everything that they're going to have to do in terms of compensation, number one, to the Packers, two, in terms of creating the cap space by either restructuring contracts or just straight up letting players go to create the cap space for such a bloated contract. And then on top of all of that, now I got to go bring in all your homies. And that's where I think that there was language in the tweets and the reports that were insinuating that it was a demand. Now, he is correct. Or Diana Rossini, in defending herself, said no one said he's demanding these players. But she went on to clarify and double down and say there is a wish list. Now, granted, every QB, especially a QB of Aaron Rodgers, should have a wish list, right? But in regards to if you're making this a make or break, if you're the New York Jets, you obviously want to be all in. He's announcing to the world that he wants to come to you. But if he's also saying behind the scenes, like, here's a list of my guys. Both things could be true. He's not making a demand, but he's also giving you a list of his guys. Because the report was saying he has given a list to the Jets to try and target and acquire these players. And the 4 players, now there's allegedly more players on that list, but in terms of the players that we were given was Mercedes Lewis, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, who is now a Jet, 4 years, $44 million, and Odell Beckham. And if we go through all the news here of everything, so you see this, lose my number, good try though. So boom. We get a whole bunch of stuff from him and McAfee. And, McAfee has, found his muse, whether it's AJ Hawk or however, he's been able to get a lot of exclusive tea straight from Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't do a lot of press, doesn't have a lot of media avails, especially on platforms like this. So the fact that he's able to corral Raj is a big deal. So, Aaron Rodgers said that he has already made the decision about his future, said this isn't the decision day. So this is not LeBron. This is not, sitting down with Jim Gray at the Boys and Girls Club. This isn't any of that. But this is coming on a pretty popular platform and making a decision that seemingly the football world and a good chunk of the sports world is waiting for. So even though he's saying this isn't the decision day, it kind of sort of is. But anyway, so when it comes to when he came out of the darkness, so he had this retreat, right? The darkness retreat we talked about here on the stream. There's 2 to 3 days in darkness in a 300 square foot studio, essentially. So when he came out of the darkness, something changed. There's been a shift. So essentially, allegedly, he's saying that he was on the verge of retiring. He was on the verge of retiring. He was about 90% sure he was going to retire entering the darkness. When he exited the darkness, there was a shift. Things had changed. So now when it comes to the actual compensation, so now that we have the piece of, okay, now we have Aaron Rodgers openly saying, I want to be a Jet. So now what? As of, what time was this tweet? Okay, so as of this afternoon, right? The Packers and Jets continue to negotiate on an Aaron Rodgers trade, but have not yet agreed to terms. This is a very contradictory statement than what was reported last week. If you remember last week, there were a lot of blue check boys and girls, the same ones that are now saying this story, that are now coming with this version of events. There was a lot of them saying last week the deal was done. They're just waiting on Aaron Rodgers to make their mind up. There was a lot of reports that the Packers and Jets had already locked in a framework of the deal and that they were just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to say yay or nay to wanting to get up out the paint and come to MetLife. So now we're getting the reverse of that. We're getting the reciprocal of that, where now they have not agreed to terms yet. They're still negotiating. Now, this next part is where it gets interesting. Green Bay isn't looking for multiple first-round picks like other quarterbacks, i.e. Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford. So they are not looking for multiple first-round picks like other QBs have commanded in recent years. Talks ongoing. That, to me, is very telling. This man is a, four-time MVP. He won 2 MVPs in the last 3 years. So he's won 2 of the last 3 MVPs. You were paying him $58 million a year. Yes, he is on the back half. He's not in his prime, but he's on the back half of his career. But you still paid him $58 million per. Okay? So you're telling me you're going to hand him over to the Jets and you don't want multiple first-round picks? Russell Wilson went for 3 first-round picks, and he was mid this past season. Aaron Rodgers can potentially go to the Jets and make them a contender. They could potentially, if things break right, could win a Lombardi. And you don't want multiple first-round picks, so then what's the compensation? If you don't want multiple firsts, you got to get at least 1 first, right? 1 first in what? A first and a second? A first in 2 seconds? Is this going to be like the NBA where you get 5 second-round picks in a trade? Like, what is proper compensation? I remember I had a Packer fan and ESPN radio host Greg Larner came on the stream last week, and I asked him, like, what do you think is fair compensation? 2 firsts and 2 seconds? And he said, yeah, that sounds about right. Well, that goes completely against what's being reported now. 1 first and maybe a second for a guy who won 2 out of the last 3 MVPs? It's becoming a bigger and bigger steal for the Jets. And it's also showing how fast and how quickly and how swiftly the Packers want to get Aaron Rodgers the hell up out of Lambeau. Like, they are over it. We'd rather be mid with Jordan Love for the next few years. You can take the ayahuasca. You can take all the nonsense. You can take all of that with you to Jers and have fun in MetLife. And I'm not sure how you can have a MVP that's a guy that's won 2 out of the last 3 MVPs and only get 1 first-round pick for him. That's going to be something I'm going to be extremely locked in on because I need to see how they spin that. If you're a Packer fan and you see your franchise QB go out the door and he's going to continue to play for minimum, you would think at least 2 seasons at a pretty respectable high level, and you're only going to get 1 first-round pick, your team's compensation as your team is now going to have, less talent. Your team is going to be worse off. And you're going to only get 1 first-round pick? That's something I would keep an eye on. And here we go with the news about him not having that list. So Aaron Rodgers is telling Pat McAfee that he didn't give the Jets a list of players to sign, but he did vouch for a number of former teammates. Also said, who wouldn't want Odell on their team? Now, here's the Odell connection, and this requires a little bit of, jogging your memory. Back when Odell was a free agent before the Rams move, the Packers were in, i.e., Aaron Rodgers was in on trying to get Odell to go to Green Bay. But there was a problem, if you remember correctly. They wanted Odell to play special teams. I am not lying to you right now. I am not joking with you right now. Google is your friend. The Green Bay Packers were asking Odell Beckham to play special teams if he wanted to be a Packer. That's a thing that happened. So, yes, that's why, and of course, he was going to do that because why? At that point in his career, with the injury history that he had, you're asking me to do what? So, of course, he goes to the Rams, and goes and gets a chip there, falls down and goes boom again, unfortunately, and now he's on the mend again. And now he's back working out again. And he's looking pretty good again. So, yes, who wouldn't want Odell Beckham? But that list, not necessarily a demand, but I mean, if you're going all in by doing everything that the Jets have had to do, potentially going to have to move on from Corey Davis and other players that they've been kind of helped rebuild, in essence, rebuild the foundation of what the Jets have turned themselves into to be an attractive destination for Aaron Rodgers. Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis. Those are the two that I'm like, Alan Lazard, you can make an argument for him being an upgrade. And allegedly, Alan Lazard was already on the Jets free agent big board anyway. Take that for what it is. Maybe that's Nathaniel Hackett and his influence. And there was also a tweet saying that Aaron Rodgers also said Nathaniel Hackett played a huge part. Now, is that a dig at the Packers? I don't know. But he said Nathaniel Hackett was a huge part in his choice in deciding it's time to leave Green Bay. Take it for what it is. But Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet. Joe Namath has said he can have 12. That's great because Joe Namath is a fraud Hall of Famer. But, and that number probably shouldn't be retired. Go look at Joe Namath's stats and then get back to me. Should not be a Hall of Famer. That 12 shouldn't have been retired in the first place. So maybe A-Rod can actually redeem that 12 and make that 12 for the Jets actually mean something. So there's a lot more to navigate here, but I'll come off the screen as I just want to do a double check of if there's anything that I am missing in regards to this story before we move on, because free agency is happening. There's a lot going on in free agency. And, I would love to see some more tea come down this timeline. So let me just navigate real quick. But let me know in the comments, what does this make the Jets now? Because if you look at this AFC East, what does this make the Jets? Buffalo, by default, you would assume it would still be the favorite just because they still have Josh Allen. They still have Stephon Diggs. You would assume they'll get Von Miller back at some point relatively early in the season because he kind of got hurt midway through the season. So you would think enough time will pass that he should be able to contribute in the first half, if not at least the midpoint of the season next year. So the Bills should have, they brought back, they brought back some free agents already. So the Bills should be in position to be able to still hold down that fort as the favorite. But now you got Miami with Jalen Ramsey. That trade now becomes official. Jalen Ramsey as a Dolphin fortifies that secondary because Byron Jones, we talked about it here on the Timeline T, the live stream. He says he can't run or jump. Not good for a DB, right? So he's going to walk away at the age of 30, he's going to walk away from football. No one's talking about that story, by the way. I don't know why we're not. People love talking about CTE and concussions and all that. We literally have a player at 30 years old saying, I can't run and I can't jump. And no one's saying anything, but it's all good. It's not all good for him, but it's all good, I guess. We're always worried about the transaction. The transactions are sexier than, having a 30-year-old man say, I can't run or jump. Anyway, so you get Byron Jones out, Jalen Ramsey in. They extend Tua. They get the 5th-year option for Tua. They bring back the running backs and Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. They still have Tyreek Hill. They still got Waddle. They're trying to upgrade the tight end position. We will get there in the NFL free agency part. So is it now the Dolphins? Or is it now the Jets with Aaron Rodgers? This is a very 3-team run. It's going to be a 3-team race. I don't know if anyone really believes in the Patriots. Why would you? But in the sense of Dolphins, Bills, Jets, who's going to run the AFC East? I don't really have a favorite right now. I can't call it. I really can't call it because I've always been a little questionable on the Bills, but I do like what the Dolphins have put together there. It's a lot of names. We're still not sure if Jalen Ramsey is still that top tier corner. He's still a good corner, still a upper echelon corner, but is he that lockdown corner that we were enthralled with when he was in Jacksonville? All right, not seeing that much news. Ezekiel Elliott, we know he's gone. Oh boy, this always seems to turn into the Lamar stream, but here we go again. The Ravens have looked into, I guess that should be past tense, had looked. The Ravens, the Ravens had looked into possibly signing free agents Baker Mayfield and Jacoby Brissett due to uncertainty with Lamar Jackson. Imagine that. Like, we're going to replace Lamar with Baker, Jacoby. Ugh, poverty. I swear, unless some actual Lamar news comes down, we'll fall back. We'll fall back on Lamar stuff. But he's going to be he's still the name of free agency. There's a lot of names, but in terms of impact, how many impactful moves outside of Aaron Rodgers? I think the Bears getting DJ Moore is impactful. But outside of those two moves, it's what's going to happen with Lamar. The whole league is talking about it. Because Jacoby Brissett goes to the Washington Commanders, it's going to be Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. Again, you're Eric Bieniemy. You leave Patrick Mahomes. There was probably, I don't know how much of a percentage chance, but it was a percentage chance you could have left Patrick Mahomes and still end up with Lamar Jackson. But you go from Patrick Mahomes to Jacoby Brissett. That's an L. I'm sorry for Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy always seems, whatever. It's a lot there. But in terms of recapping trades that are now official, as we talked about just a few seconds ago, Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins, Darren Waller to the Giants, DJ Moore to the Bears, Jonnu Smith to the Falcons. They got Kyle Pitts. 2 tight end set. How is that going to look with the Falcons? 2 tight end set, or is there an insinuation there? Because Pitts really is more of a receiver than a tight end. So we're gonna move Kyle Pitts off the ball, move him off the line. I mean, interesting there. Let's tap in with the comments. See what we got. Let's see if Skip and Shannon go off on A-Rod like they did LJ when he called it. I mean, look, I don't think those shows have relationships. And I appreciate the comment. Those shows have allegiances. Those shows are affiliated to networks that have league partnerships. There's only so much they can say on those shows. They may call out Schefter because he's on the competitive network. But in regards to really go off on A-Raj, I think that's something I would like to see. I would like to see some transparency in sports media. That's kind of why, to be quite honest, why I'm deciding to do stuff like this. Someone that's worked in sports media for over 10 years, almost 15 years in, I have seen and heard a lot and have been a part of a lot. And there's a lot of stuff that fans just don't know in terms of how these shows are created, how these networks think of you as an audience. But, in regards to will they go after him? I think somebody will, because here's the thing. Every day on these types of shows, someone has to say the thing. Y'all know what that thing is. Every day, whenever there's a controversial topic, everyone is saying, if you have 99% of the pundits saying everyone should go to the left, someone has to say the thing, which is who's going to be the 1% that says, no, you should go to the right. Because if whoever says that first will get all the clicks, we'll get all the retweets, we'll get all the hearts, so on and so forth. So appreciate the comment. I don't know if any of the shows, any of the Embrace Debate type shows will be getting at A-Raj, but somebody will say something. You can guarantee somebody's going to try to jump out there and have the hot take and try to see what they can do to get the numbers up. Because at the end of the day, that's what the bulk of these shows are. It's all about just putting numbers up. So appreciate the comment. Let's see what we have here. That's anything else that's official. I mean, I think this trade here, even though it happened, last week, this is a huge haul for the Chicago Bears. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore. So now let's understand this again. Because we're going off the tweet of, where is it? That Green Bay isn't looking for multiple first-round picks, right? Allegedly. They're not looking for multiple first-round picks. But then you have the Bears out there being able to get 2 firsts and 2 seconds for, yes, a top-flight receiver, but it's still a receiver. Nowhere near as impactful as quarterback. So how can Green Bay justify only getting a first-round pick, minimum one, or maximum one, for Aaron Rodgers when the Bears are able to go get 2 firsts and 2 seconds for a receiver? Now, again, yes, you're moving on to the top of the draft, so I understand that there's a little bit more cachet in that aspect, but you're still giving up Aaron Rodgers. Are they that done with him? Are they that done with him that they just, just whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. The first rounder, fine, out of here, done. Jordan Love, pull up. Jordan Love, pull up. Let's get this thing cracking. Because it's starting to feel that way. That they just want him gone so bad that they're just like, whatever, man. Whatever it takes, bro. Like, I am here for getting him out of here at any and all cost. But then you see what the Bears were able to do here. This is pretty impressive. And as a team that I used to root for, in full transparency, I used to root for the Chicago Bears. The Bears were the team of my youth. And then I got away from fandom because, fandom's a mental illness, but that's a story for another day. This, to me, how can the Bears get more compensation for the number 1 overall pick than the Packers can Aaron Rodgers? That's something that we're going to have to really parse and dissect at some point. But let's move on. We're going to move on to NFL free agency. And what I would like to bring up for y'all, let me just get this lined up here. There's a lot of receivers available. The Bears got DJ Moore, and I think they still got the best of the available receivers that were out there. But if your team needs a receiver, there's 2 that are clearly and openly available. DeAndre Hopkins and Jerry Jeudy. Allegedly, the Patriots called about trading for DeAndre Hopkins and Jerry Jeudy, but forget the Patriots because we don't really care about them. It's the fact that DeAndre Hopkins, who's still a top-tier receiver, he may not be top 2 or 3 like he was a few seasons ago, but I would say he's still, for sure, safely top 10. You could debate if he's top 10, a top 5. So when you have that and you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins potentially available, because clearly they're breaking things down in Arizona, and Jerry Jeudy, why would Sean Payton, who is now walking in to Russell Wilson, who has handpicked him, tried to handpick him in Seattle, but has now got him in Denver, why would they want to move Jerry Jeudy? What have they seen that we don't know about? Because Jerry Jeudy was supposed to be one of them ones. Supposed to be in the class of, Jefferson and all these young top emerging receivers that have taken over. He's supposed to be one of those names. Now, he's been beset by bad QBs. But now he has Russell Wilson, right? So it should be a thing, but last year it was not a thing. Now, whether you want to blame that on Nathaniel Hackett, whether you want to blame that on Russell Wilson and the disease of me having his own office on the second floor, not really ingratiating himself to his new teammates, kind of trying to be the OC and the QB at the same damn time. I don't know if you want to put it all on that, but something didn't go right in Denver. And Jerry Jeudy was thought to be one of those pieces that made it attractive for Russell Wilson to want to go there in the first place. Now you're going to trade him? Now, who needs DeAndre Hopkins the most? Who is a wide receiver away? And if you don't have the draft capital to go get a DeAndre Hopkins, well, actually, that's probably the better question. Who demands more draft capital right now? DeAndre Hopkins or Jerry Jeudy? Because DeAndre Hopkins, you're doing it off of past reputation. Jerry Jeudy, you're doing it off of potential. So are you giving up more for a potential number 1 receiver? Maybe now, probably more of a number 2 receiver? Or are you giving up more for the guy who's been a true bona fide number one wide receiver and is still probably hanging on to that status, although he's on the back half of the top 10. Who are you going harder for? Pause. Let's see what else we can find here on the timeline. It's a lot of action here. Ezekiel Elliott is no longer a Cowboy. That to me is not that shocking. Most of the moves have been stuff that has been announced for a while. The Colts have cut Matt Ryan. That's official. He still gets $12 million. So salute to his agent. Still gets $12 million regardless of what they decided to do. They decided to move on, so he walks away with $12 million. Again, that's rare in the NFL because of the funny money and the non-guaranteed money. He was able to get guaranteed $12 million. That's why guaranteed money is important in quarterback contracts. Just saying. So we could go here. The Buccaneers are expected to be interested in Cowboys running back Zeke Elliott. Once he's released, he has since been released. Here's more of the more important tidbit, because if you think Zeke has something left, I mean, we need to talk if you really do. We need to talk if you do, because I don't think he has that much left, if at all. The Buccaneers were the worst run blocking team in the league last season, ranking dead last. Zeke, behind the Cowboys' offensive line, ran for just under 4 yards per carry, while Tony Pollard ran for 5 behind the same line. Zeke and the Bucs wouldn't be an ideal fit. Now that's editorializing there from your guy Dove. I would say this. The Buccaneers have tried to improve the offensive line so far in free agency. Whether that works, we have no idea. But I do know this. They let go of Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette has a lot left in the tank than Ezekiel Elliott. If Leonard Fournette looks at that system with that O-line and says, I am a man amongst boys my entire life. I can get 3 yards anywhere I go. But if this O-line, if you want me to keep running and running my body into other bodies with this O-line, I'm good, love, enjoy. Like if he's deciding it's time to skate, if I'm Zeke, I'm not running to that same offensive line, because as you just showed, he can only get under 4 yards a carry with a good offensive line, with a good running offensive line. I think it's a dicey move. He's going to end up somewhere. I just don't know. You can't have any true expectations with Ezekiel Elliott at this moment. You just can't. There's not much there that's left. I don't know, what expectations can you realistically have for Ezekiel Elliott next year? Can't really have that much. See what else we can find. Yeah, the news is starting to slow down. So we're kind of rounding in the form. You know, you're officially on the clock. Teams are allowed to discuss at 4 o'clock Eastern. That's why we came on a little bit after 4, just to make sure in case anything huge drops. I didn't want to have to be swimming through the timeline, have all the tabs opened up. The Panthers are still, the Panthers are doing some weird things. I would love for someone to explain to me the moves that the Panthers are doing. Yeah, it's slowing down now. Okay, so we're pretty much set when it comes to news and information in regards to the NFL. Jordan Poyer, back to the Bills. Yeah, that was the name I couldn't remember earlier. Yeah. The Bucs signing Baker Mayfield. Oh, Darius Slay. Big play Slay. Do the Eagles have a reason as to why they're cutting Darius Slay? Eagles are losing a lot of players. But let me just go here real quick in terms of free agents that are still available as of right now. Now, Jordan Poyer could take him off the board, right? But Bobby Wagner, Orlando Brown, I think, is actually on the Four Letter Network as an analyst right now. Levante David, I think he re-upped. Gesicki, CJ Gardner-Johnson, for those who ain't hip. Miles Sanders, that's a name. If you're a running back away, now I know running backs have been devalued in the NFL, but Miles Sanders, like, look, the Bears already did it, but the Bears had an opening because David Montgomery went to the Lions. If I were the Bears, I would have tried to see what's up with Miles Sanders. You saw how he played with Jalen Hurts. Very dynamic. He catch the ball at the backfield. You put him with Justin Fields and now DJ Moore. Now I think that offense is out of here. That offense is out of here. Especially now with that division not having Aaron Rodgers no more. Now the only thing you got to worry about is Jared Goff with the Lions and Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. Opportunity missed, in my opinion, for the Bears. But of these players, who is impactful? Bobby Wagner, does he still have enough left to where he's impactful? Orlando Brown, fresh off of a Lombardi with the Chiefs, is he impactful? I think Miles Sanders is impactful. Juju got a bag, so he's off the board here. Leonard Floyd, back half of his career for him. Taylor Lewan, back half of his career. So there's a lot of names here. Like that's the thing. There's a lot of names here, but how many are impactful players? Baker, please, and Odell. So based off what we have there, there's not a lot left, to be quite honest with you. I think the name that's not here is Lamar. Just because we can't really say what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. And again, allegedly, the Ravens inquired about Jacoby Brissett and Baker Mayfield, while they're trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. So interesting. We'll see what happens there. So, all right, I think we'll move on from that. If there's any NFL news, hit me in the comments. We'll hit on it. But I'm going to slide over to the NBA because John Morant got a cookie cutter suspension. And I think he listened to one of these streams and maybe even my podcast because he found the fall guy. The NBA is suspending John Morant 8 games without pay for conduct detrimental to the league. Morant's suspension covers the 6 games he's missed since March 5th. He is eligible to rejoin the Grizzlies and play versus Dallas on Monday, March 20th. Now, here's why this is interesting. Because if you think about it, one, this means that what the league found in regards to, now this is primarily, if I'm mistaken, hit me in the comments, but this is primarily off of the incident in Colorado with the gun in the strip club, right? So this isn't in regards to all the other stuff, the finish line employee pressing the mall security. This isn't that. This isn't the 17-year-old getting the beats put to him in Josh's backyard. This isn't any of that. This isn't him spinning to his sister's high school and checking some kid. This is none of that. This is primarily only about the whole thing in regards to the strip club in the Blinky in Colorado, right? So let's see if we have, yes, we have that here. Okay. So the league office conducted an investigation of the March 4th incident. Okay, so that is the Colorado strip club thing. Based on the information obtained during the investigation, the league did not conclude that the gun at issue belonged to Morant. Was brought by him, that they worded this so weird. Okay, let's run that. Based on the information obtained during the investigation, the league did not conclude that the gun at issue belonged to Morant, was brought by him into the nightclub, or was displayed by him beyond a brief period. The investigation also did not find that Morant possessed the gun while traveling with the team or in any NBA facility, and the Colorado authorities did not find sufficient cause to charge Morant with a crime. Now, that last part with the Colorado authorities, that was announced last week. So that part we knew. So now, the main thing here, the league did not conclude that the gun at issue belonged to Morant. So it was not his gun, according to this investigation. It was brought by him, nor was it brought by him into the nightclub or was displayed by him beyond a brief period. So basically they're saying it wasn't his gun. He didn't bring it in there. And the only time he had it is when he flashed it on the gram. Take that for what it is. But I think that's a nice, safe cleanup. Because again, we're not talking about the 3 other incidents We're not talking about those. It's only about the strip club thing. So the stuff that has actual pending lawsuits and potential charges, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the strip club incident where he allegedly dropped $50K in tips, and they had pictures of him getting lap dances and, bread all over the floor. This is selective discipline. We had selective outrage with the Chris Rock special. This is selective discipline because the NBA is clearly trying to make sure we forget the 3 other incidents with Ja and just only focus on the strip club, because the strip club involved him brandishing a gun, and even though it's a private club, there was patrons in there. So Adam Silver, Ja's conduct was irresponsible, reckless, and potentially very dangerous. It also had serious consequences given his enormous following and influence, particularly among young fans who look up to him. Okay, Adam, you're not talking about the 17-year-old that allegedly got the beats put to him in Ja's backyard? But the strip club incidents, this has serious consequences given his enormous following and influence, particularly among young fans who look up to him. Okay. He has expressed sincere contrition and remorse for his behavior. Ja has also made it clear that he has learned from this incident. Okay, language is important. Words are important. Ja has made it clear to me that he understands he had learned from this incident. Not putting the beats to the 17-year-old, not pressing a mall security, not running 9 deep to a volleyball game, a high school volleyball game, none of that. But this strip club thing where I'm flashing the blinky, all right, I'll learn my lesson on that. And that he understands his obligations and responsibility to the Memphis Grizzlies and the broader NBA community extend well beyond his play on the court. Okay, who thinks that's a bunch of nonsense? Because to me, it appears to be a wee bit of nonsense. And look, I'm not here to run down on Ja. I'm not here to do that, right? But I think, as I've mentioned on my podcast, there's a lack of accountability. Putting all of this on the notion of the strip club incident, to me, is like a lack of understanding the scope of what potentially is at play here. There's been a lot of insinuation, and again, this is alleged, but there's been a lot of insinuation that there is some sort of problem with Ja. Whether it's a substance abuse problem, whether it's, in his own statement that was released shortly after the strip club thing, it was talked about stress and anxiety that ties to mental health. So if there is a mental health and or a substance abuse problem, why are we focusing on the strip club incident only? Stress and anxiety clearly could have played a part in those 3 other incidents that the league is trying to act like never happened. What is actually going on here? And there was reports that he went to a Florida rehab. Now there's reports that he's already checked out of that rehab. What kind of rehab is that? If you have an actual substance abuse issue or a mental health issue like stress or anxiety, how are you only in rehab for a couple of days? Was all of this just optics? Is that what we're doing here with the NBA and Adam Silver? As much as I loathe him, David Stern would have not let this rock. This would have been cleaned up. Ja would have had to go away. Be clear. Ja would have to go away if David Stern was still here. I mean, allegedly, that's why Jordan went away, right? So this is what we're talking about. You have Ja Morant, face of a franchise, potential future face of an entire league, have multiple incidents in a short amount of time that involves violence, intimidation, and entitlement. And then we only focus on the 4th incident because that one is actually brandishing a weapon that they could not hide from, because you can have plausible deniability with the other incidents. We ain't even talking about the Pacers thing with the laser, with the beam on them, which again, the NBA investigated and cannot corroborate the Pacers version of events. So there's a lot of stuff here where you can, let Ja skate. You could say, well, it wasn't him with the beam with the Pacers. Okay, cool. We'll let that slide. Well, his mom called him and they rolled 9 deep to him all. Yeah, but his guy was the one that actually mushed the security guy in the head. Okay, but that security guy wouldn't have been there if Ja didn't hop in the Jeep and say, let's roll. Like, okay, all right, fine. We'll let Ja skate there. All right. Ja was in his backyard hooping, and a 17-year-old may have played a little bit too hard, may have been playing like it was game 7 instead of a regular run, checked the ball a little extra hard, Ja not paying attention, missed the catch, and it knocked him in the grill, and told his mans, should I do it to him? And his man said, yeah, do it to him. So clearly there has been a prior time where Ja has had to say that same thing and the same chain of events has happened where he has to say, yo, should I really do it to him? And his man say, yeah, call a response. So, and then allegedly, because again, it's all alleged, although this is been reported on and it is in a police report, that Ja put the beats to this kid. And then his man's, the same one that said, yeah, do it to him, he jumped in too. And then when allegedly the kids say, I'm gonna come back and light this place up like fireworks, then Ja went inside and got the blinky again and came out the house and brandished it. And his pops had to come out there and say, no, like, what are you doing? How can you? And Mike Miller was there. Grizzlies legend. Mike Miller was on the premises. No accountability. And then we have the whole thing with the sister at the volleyball game. Someone called her a bitch, and then the moms and the dad and Ja. And then again, 9 more dudes pull up and press whoever called her a bitch. So what are we doing? But the strip club, oh no, we can't have that. We brandished a blinky on IG Live. Can't have that. Can't have that. And again, this is why the words matter in stuff like this, because this is only about the strip club event. Because again, sometimes the truth is right there in front of you. You just have to see it and accept it for what it is. The last part here, Ja has made it clear to me that he has learned from this incident and that he understands his obligations and responsibility to the Memphis Grizzlies. What's going to be the response when Ja comes back? Because, to me, if there was a real problem, he wouldn't be coming back this season. And there were a lot of people in and around the NBA that were all kind of echoing the same thing. Like, yeah, man, there's something real going on here that he's probably not going to come back. There were a lot of people in and around this industry that were saying that. Now, all of a sudden, 6-game suspension? Now, all of a sudden, he could play next week? Next week? So is it the Casamigos or nah? Is it anxiety and stress or nah? Or are we just going to use the one incident that the league had no choice but to acknowledge in the Blinky incident and say, all right, we need to give you a little pow for that one. All the other stuff, we're going to let the legal system work that out, even though they have their own legal team and their own CIA, FBI type investigations going on top of the legal one. But for optics purposes, we're going to pow you on the strip club stuff, and let's just hope the legal stuff kind of goes away on its own. What's going to be the response when Ja comes back? It's going to be mixed. He's not going to be able to get away. He's not going to be able to smile his way through it. He's not going to be able to gritty his way through it. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. And the Grizzlies have somehow been winning games without Ja. So somebody want to say the thing? See, here's an example of the media. Who's going to say the thing of the Grizzlies are better without Ja Morant? See, that's an example of saying the thing. Grizzlies have won three straight without Ja Morant. So while everyone is like trying to figure out, well, how do I explain how they're missing their best player, but they're still winning games and winning games against good competition, then that's when that one person, that 1%, while the 99% is trying to dissect numbers and advanced analytics and metrics and so on and so forth, you got the one person that's going to jump out there and say, well, I think the Grizzlies are better without Ja Morant. Boom, clicks, retweets, through the roof, million views, all of that. That's an example of someone saying the thing. So we'll see who's going to say the thing. One last cruise of the timeline before we wrap this up, and I appreciate those who are still here tapping in. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I really do appreciate building my channel here and being able to communicate with you all and have discourse, being able to, visually bring forth a vision. This is something I built using Ecamm Live. It's kind of like OBS before Mac, because I'm an Apple guy when it comes to computers. So if you're interested in live streaming, interested in just doing video presentation type work, there's a free trial for Ecamm Live. It's in the description. But I like to put things together visually and not just give a take, not just have an opinion, but craft it visually in something like this. So I want to make live stream be more than just here's a camera, here's a couple of lights, just start talking. I'm going to put a little bit more value to it, a little bit more presentation to it, and I like the feedback that I've been getting off of this presentation so far. So thank you for those who have tapped in. Let me do one last quick check. Have we missed anything? The Elon app is very busy. Elon app is very busy. Elon app is Twitter, for those who don't know, hence Elon app. But yeah, let's see. Tyron Smith electing to stay with the Cowboys to rework his contract. It's not really big news. All right. I think we're good there. Yeah, nothing down the timeline. If anything crazy happens, you might get another stream before tomorrow, but I think we're in a safe space to end this stream and get back on here tomorrow. And we'll be able to hopefully talk about some more news. I have been told something in confidence that there may be some Lamar stuff tomorrow. We shall see. I don't know if we'll get something that quick. I think that would be best for all of us to just get this Lamar saga over with, but allegedly something could be coming with Lamar by tomorrow. We'll definitely be waiting for bated breath for that, because the whole thing of should he get paid, should he not get paid, it is really just a polarizing topic, and it's calling out a lot of tropes, problematic and otherwise. But yeah, I appreciate those who have been able to tap in. Thank you so much for being able to be a part of Timeline T. I appreciate all of you. And for the Sam D, I am Sam Duzme Jr. I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Peace.